So in my previous career, I was a music producer and composer, and essentially what I was trying to do with the music that I was producing and composing is to essentially communicate an emotion to people, and through that communication try and find connection via the kind of communities that music making helps build, not just in terms of the people that I was working with, but also in terms of the audiences that were listening. And at some point I realized that I wanted to do the same thing but in a different way. And I'd always had a big desire to be in film in some capacity. So I was already producing and composing scores for films like Mujhe and Baaji and so on. But I really wanted to step into the world of film as a storyteller, essentially utilizing a different set of skills to do the same thing. And that's essentially to communicate with an audience, to try and connect with them and to build a sort of rapport of conversation through the medium of story. So I'm a 90s kid, and unfortunately there was not a lot of filmmaking when I was growing up in Pakistan. And we had primarily a lot of television, but I didn't really watch too much Pakistani TV. So for me, the primary influences were the big films of the 80s and the 90s. And within that, I used to love my thrillers, actually, even as a young teen. So I loved films by Martin Scorsese. I also loved sort of family films by Spielberg, George Lucas, but I also loved, The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola. And so a lot of that influence that was what initially drew my interest into film. So I'm a narrative director. My main love is storytelling, and I love how by stepping into the shoes of a character, someone you've never met, you can talk about a whole new perspective on life. That I think has so much power for me. So everything for me is essentially about story. That's what I focus on. That's what my style is. All of the intentionality that I put into my work comes from story being king. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and that is really my philosophy. My main inspiration comes from looking around in the world, in the city that I live in Karachi. It comes from conversations that I have with people. I read a lot of books. I watch a lot of world cinema to try and diversify the kind of influences that I'm taking in. But really I find that the news and things that are happening around, they say truth is stranger than fiction. That's really where I derive a lot of my material from. So my process generally when I'm coming up with ideas is I daydream. I visualize everything. And when I was working on Coke Studio on both Kana, Yaari and Jhol, the process was actually quite similar, because I was given the music and I would close off all the lights, close the curtains in my room and just play the song over and over again, close my eyes and just visualize the entire thing. Just kind of sitting with the song, sitting with the material and allowing that wandering to happen brought really interesting ideas and images to the fore, and that's really where I started building from. With Kana Yaari, it was an idea that was kind of in the DNA of the song about the idea of friendships, relationships, etc. And so I didn't want that particular idea to be completely direct. I wanted it to be more abstract. So the entire story, so to speak, or the abstract story of Kana Yaari is about opening up, and that is and that plays out as a metaphor in the set opening up, where each room is a facet of one's personality, and as we move through the set, it opens up, and that's kind of how friendships work, at least for me. You spend more time with someone and you start opening up, you show new sides to yourself, to that person, and that's really kind of the abstract story of Kana Yaari. And for Jhol, again, Jhol is a song about relationships. It's a song about longing. I sat and I visualized the song and I saw some imagery come to light. There was a train station, there was something about movement, there was something about betrayal, there was something about love gained and lost. And that entire story sort of came about from, again, just wandering through the world of the song.